If you grew up watching G.I. Joe in the 80s, you remember the moment Serpentor showed up and changed everything. Dr. Mindbender clones history's greatest warriors, Caesar, Attila, Genghis Khan, and creates the ultimate Cobra Emperor. That's the cartoon version. Clean, simple, after-school TV. But the comic books told a completely different story. There are 3 things about how Serpentor was really created that the cartoon never showed you. The first one was hidden in plain sight. The third one was an accident. And the second one, the one buried between them, is the detail that changes everything about who he actually is. Stay with me. To understand Serpentor's real origin, we have to go back to G.I. Joe issue 47. Storm Shadow, the White Ninja, once Cobra Commander's personal bodyguard, had just defected. He turned his back on Cobra and was fighting alongside Snake Eyes, trying to escape Cobra Island. They steal a Cobra hydrofoil. Snake Eyes mans the turret. Storm Shadow drives. They're almost free. The hydrofoil gets hit. Both of them go into the ocean. Cobra eels are waiting underwater, and the sharks are already circling. Storm Shadow fights them all. Bare hands, blades, whatever he has. The Joes watching from a distance assume he's finished. And then someone points. Somebody's walking out of the surf onto the beach. It's Storm Shadow. He survived the sharks. He survived the eels. He made it to shore. That's when the Baroness opens fire. 3 shots on the beach. Storm Shadow goes down. She says it herself. You've betrayed Cobra once too often, and I intend that you never betray us again. The man survived sharks and Cobra commandos underwater and gets taken down on dry land by the person he used to work for. So what exactly does Cobra do with a body that's impossible to kill? Dr. Mindbender had other plans. Issue 49. Somewhere in the Middle East, Destro and Dr. Mindbender are robbing an ancient tomb. Armed guards try to stop them. Mindbender blasts them with wrist rockets and doesn't even break a sweat. Fortunately, the local constabulary are not equipped to deal with wrist rockets, he says. They're not grave robbers for sport. They're collecting genetic material, and they've been doing this all over the world. Back on Cobra Island, Cobra Commander explains the plan. Mindbender has found the remains of 10 of history's greatest warriors and has access to Dr. Venom's old brainwave scanner to complete the experiment. The goal? Don't bring the dead back to life. Use their genetic material as a blueprint and reconstruct a living soldier with the combined genius, ruthlessness, and military instinct of all of them at once. The lab is inside the Springfield Museum of Antiquities. 10 bodies, each placed in a specific saline protein tank in the exact right sequence. Because if the order is wrong, the brainwave scanner wipes its entire program. The DNA of 10 dead conquerors, 10 titans of war. But what does enough even mean when you're building a god? The Baroness notices something. 11? We only have 10 bodies. And here is the first thing the cartoon never showed you. Mindbender smiles. Oh, I thought it prudent to spice up the mixture with some fresh meat, so to speak. He pulls back a cover. And there's Storm Shadow. Bandaged, unconscious, kept alive in a vegetative state. His body was recovered after the Baroness shot him on the beach. Not by the Joes, by Cobra. Mindbender looks at the Baroness and says, "You remember Storm Shadow, don't you, Baroness? You gunned him down not too long ago on Cobra Island. The man she tried to kill. His DNA is now going inside the thing they're building. Storm Shadow, a ninja, a traitor to Cobra, a man who rejected everything the organization stood for and chose honor over loyalty to a terrorist organization. That's ingredient 11. And that is the second thing, the one the cartoon couldn't afford to explain. The dead conquerors give the military knowledge, the political genius, the ruthlessness. But Storm Shadow gives the physical edge, the combat training, the ninja discipline, the reflexes of a living weapon. A weapon that had already said no to Cobra once. That contradiction isn't a footnote. It's baked into his very cells. Every time Serpentor acts with honor, every time he leads from the front, every time he refuses to retreat, that's not just Caesar or Hannibal speaking, that's also the man the Baroness shot on a beach. But there's a third ingredient, and this one nobody planned. Ripcord, a G.I. Joe, had been captured and brought to the museum. They strap him into the brainwave scanner to extract his tactical knowledge. The Joes' strategies, their operational data, everything he knew. As the machine scans his memories, all of it flows into the scanner, which is still connected to Serpentor's tank. Nobody notices, but the final panel makes it clear. The hands rising from the nutrient tank, Serpentor being born, happen at exactly the same moment Ripcord's mind is being read. Serpentor is born carrying the strategies of the very team that will spend years trying to stop him. Not as stolen intel, as instinct, as memory. The cartoon never touched this. It would have been too complicated to explain on a weekday afternoon. But in the comics, it's one of the most quietly brilliant details Larry Hama ever planted. Serpentor rallies the Cobra troops on the steps of the museum. He gives the speech of a lifetime. The soldiers cheer. They worship him instantly. And then, in the last panel, we see what's happening inside his head. Private thought. No one else can hear it. Soldiers never change. They love the same speeches. He's already been here before, 1,000 times, in 100 different bodies, in 100 different centuries. He isn't moved by his own words. He's calculating. He was born 5 minutes ago, and he's already the most dangerous man in the room. The cartoon gave you a villain who wanted to conquer the world. The comics gave you something far more unsettling. So what happens when a man built from invincible minds finally meets something he can't outthink? The cartoon never resolved Serpentor's story. The comics gave him a real ending. Issues 73 through 76. The Cobra Civil War. Serpentor versus a fake Cobra commander, an imposter named Fred VII, who had stolen the commander's identity. Two sides of Cobra at war with each other, on Cobra Island, with the G.I. Joes caught in the middle. Serpentor is leading the charge from the north. He's out front, on a tank, in the open. His generals beg him to fall back. "My lord, I implore you, stay back from the front line." His answer? "How can the troops respect me if I don't share their danger?" It's Caesar talking. It's Hannibal talking. Every conqueror in his blood saying the same thing. A general leads from the front, and that's when Zartan takes aim. Zartan, the master of disguise, the mercenary, is perched on a cliff with a bow and arrow. This is going to be a difficult shot, but nowhere near as difficult as the one that took down the Hard Master. He draws the bow. The narration reads, "Like the day the Norman knights took the field at Hastings, and the Saxon King Harold was laid low by an arrow. The arrow finds its mark. Serpentor, the man made from the DNA of history's greatest military minds, dies exactly like King Harold died at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. If you've never read the Cobra Civil War arc, it's worth going back to. And if this is the kind of story the weekday cartoon never had time to tell, this channel is where they live. Subscribe if you haven't. It genuinely helps.